Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being here this evening. Would you please rise for a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance? Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, are there any changes or amendments, additions, or deletions to the agenda?
I have two. We're going to pull item 8.05 for no action. We're bringing that item back at a later date. And also in front of you that goes with 10.02 is a revised MOU. This MOU goes with the TISA grant, which is the recruitment and incentive grant for teachers at our two DA schools. And the MOU had a reference to all staff, but the funding is specific to instructional staff. So the only change is in reference to the ELC item. That references, it did say all staff, it now says all instructional staff for clarification so that there was no confusion that MOU is specific with LCEA.
Okay. All right. Then moving on to approval of the minutes.
I recommend approval of the minutes from the regular school board meeting, August 12th, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, district spotlight, our representation. I'm sorry, we do not have any popcorn to give out this evening, but this has always been good, so please give Ms. Owens your attention.
Lake County School District is a place where our students are always learning and growing into the leaders of tomorrow.
Monday, August 12th marked the start of the 2019-2020 school year. We are so happy to see our students, parents, faculty, and staff back for another year. We used hashtag LCS Back to School on social media to celebrate. Parents also shared their first day photos with us on social media using our hashtag.
Lake County Schools is the destination district for providing students with individual opportunities to excel. Stay tuned for the next District Spotlight, where we will continue shining a light on what makes Lake great.
All right, thank you. And I would just say that Ms. Owens and her staff does a wonderful job doing this and putting this together, and we appreciate all that you do. Thank you. Next on our agenda is representation of 4.02, recognition of 2018-19 STEM and STEAM schools.
Good evening. I'm going to turn this over to Amy Cockcroft, our Executive Director of Curriculum Instruction and Assessment, to kind of lead us off in this award night.
Superintendent Cornegie, Chairman Gamble, board members, thank you so much for allowing us to come tonight to present the 2018-19 STEM and STEAM School Awards. Our schools work very hard during the year to accomplish these goals, and we're excited to be able to celebrate them tonight and hopefully set some goals for next year as they want to be able to do that again for the 1920 school year. I'm excited to have two of the program specialists with me here tonight to tell you what those requirements are, as well as to call out the names of those schools so that they can be recognized. I have Tracy Wood, our K-5 math program specialist, and Kelly Dodd, our K-5 science program specialist.
Thank you. We are so excited to present the STEAM and STEM schools for the 2019 school year. The schools recognized tonight have spent the entire 2018-2019 school year working towards this achievement. In addition, the person who prepared the portfolio from each school has spent hours and hours and hours organizing, arranging, and preparing the components. Here's one sample that I brought tonight to show you the amount of content and work that goes into those binders. That one was Astatulus. If you are a person in the audience today who helps prepare the STEM portfolios at your school, would you please stand to be recognized? Thank you for all of the time and energy that you poured into benefiting your students and preparing them to be tomorrow's leaders. The elementary STEM school recognition requires the following components. Number 1, the STEM PLCs meeting once a month. Number 2, problem-based learning experiences integrating science, technology, engineering, and math. Number 3, STEAM Bowl practice documentation. Number 4, participation in the STEAM Bowl. Number 5, school and district science fair participation. And 6, family STEM night. The first batch of schools we're recognizing tonight have earned the Gold STEAM School Award. This year, we have increased the number of STEAM schools from 5 to 16. Wow. They have earned the art component of this award by integrating art into 50% of their STEM lessons and inviting an art enrichment teacher to the PLC meetings and including an art station in their STEAM nights. Congrats to the following schools who have earned this honor. As Tracy Wood calls your school name, please make your way to the front and remain standing for a picture.
Hey, we're going to start with Astatula Elementary. Claremont Elementary. Cypress Ridge Elementary. Eustis Heights Elementary. Fruitland Park Elementary. Grassy Lake Elementary. Groveland Elementary. Imagine South Lake Charter Elementary. Lost Lake Elementary.
Mineola Charter Elementary. Pinecrest Lakes Academy. Rhymes Early Learning Center. Sawgrass Bay Elementary. Tavares Elementary. Triangle Elementary. And Umatilla Elementary. The next set of schools earned the Gold STEM School Award. Leesburg Elementary. Pine Ridge Elementary. And Treadway Elementary. And the last group of elementary earned the Silver STEAM School Award. Eustis Elementary. Seminole Springs Elementary. And Sorrento Elementary. Bring the middle school and high school up now, too. Should we have them shake hands first?
Can we yay these guys?
Yep. Congratulations to all the hard participants. If you guys will turn this way and we'll go up and have you shake hands with the board. Then there will be a picture in the rotunda.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Well done. Congratulations. 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 Congrats. Congratulations. 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 Congrats. Congratulations. 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 Congrats. Congratulations. Congratulations. Congrats. Congratulations. Well done. Congratulations. 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 More. Doesn't end. Congratulations. Awesome. Congratulations. Congratulations. Good job. Congratulations.
At this time, the following middle schools earned the Gold STEAM Award. Eastridge Middle. Imagine South Lake. And Oak Park Middle. The following middle schools earned the Gold STEM Award. Claremont Middle. Eustis Middle. Gray Middle. Tavares Middle. And Windy Hill Middle. And our one high school that earned the Gold STEAM Award goes to South Lake High School. congratulations to all these middle school and high schools. You'll come this way and shake the hands. And then meet in the rotunda for a photograph.
Congratulations. Congratulations, Todd. Congratulations. Todd, congratulations. Good to be here. Congratulations. Congrats. Good job. Congratulations. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you. Congratulations. Congratulations. Congratulations.
I'm an Auburn person.
Auburn.
Ooh.
Nobody's perfect.
Yeah. So, but you know,
You
what? I
got the
friends in high
superintendent on
places.
your side.
I got where? Well, I got a parent, right?
Where? All right. You're next too? That's what it says, proclamation. Go ahead.
Good evening. I wanted to take a moment to share the proclamation for Attendance Awareness Month that occurs in September. This is our second year of celebrating Attendance Awareness Month, and I want to just go ahead and in advance thank Chris Landry and her team in Student Services for organizing it and implementing this Awareness Month, as well as all the school administrators that will do a lot of work over September to create an awareness around attendance and how important it is for us to be at school, to be able to learn at school. So if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to take a moment to read the proclamation and then ask that you sign it. Whereas good attendance is essential to student achievement and graduation, and we are committed to dedicating our resources and attention to reducing chronic absenteeism rates with a focus starting as early as pre-kindergarten and kindergarten. Whereas chronic absence, missing 10% or more of school for any reason, including excused and unexcused absences, or just 2 or 3 days a month, is a proven predictor of academic difficulties and dropout rates. Whereas Lake County schools had 7,086 students chronically absent last year. Whereas improving attendance and reducing chronic absences take commitment, collaboration, and tailored approaches to particular challenges and strengths in each community. Whereas attendance gaps among groups of students often turn into achievement gaps that undermine student success, graduation rates, and future success. Whereas healthcare providers can share the importance of school attendance with families and can offer proactive preventative care to reduce absences. Whereas schools and districts monitor attendance data and align appropriate interventions to reduce chronic absenteeism. Whereas all students, including those who attend regularly, are affected by chronic absence because teachers spend time with students who missed instruction. Whereas chronic absence can be significantly reduced when schools, families, and communities work together to monitor and promote good attendance and break down systemic barriers to regular school attendance. Whereas in partnership with Shared Services Network, Lake County Sheriff Department, Kids Central, Lake County State's Attorney's Office, Department of Juvenile Justice, and Lake County Health Department, now therefore be it resolved that the School Board of Lake County Schools does hereby proclaim September 2019 as Attendance Awareness Month in all of the public schools of Lake County and calls upon school administrators, teachers, students, and citizens of Lake County to recognize and support this action and to participate throughout the month of September in celebration of Attendance Awareness Month. Our school district will stand with the nation in recognizing September as Attendance Awareness Month. We hereby commit to focusing on reducing chronic absenteeism to give all children an equitable opportunity to learn, grow, and thrive academically, emotionally, and socially. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, board, we need a motion and
So
a
moved. Second.
motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Thank you. Moving on now to public input. Dr. Tibbetts, you're up first.
Board members, Superintendent Carnegie, I appreciate the opportunity to be back and just share some thoughts with you. I was sorry to miss your workshop recently when Tyndall Oliver presented their findings to you. It reminded me so much of a dear friend, Vance Bakeman, who was a vice president for W.R. Grace for a number of years. And then he retired, and they were frantic to keep his input. So they hired him as a consultant. And he said, Steve, it's amazing. When I worked there as a vice president, people would take exception to some of my ideas and even question them. But now that I'm a consultant, whatever I say is if sent from God. I would tell you that the cost of construction of our schools has gone up in the past 3 years. I don't know what the consultant found, but I think that that is relatively common knowledge. Once a consultant gets to play with statistics, they can come up with almost anything. But the fact that now it's out there, it's in the public, your consultant has said that the impact fee deserves to be less, is outrageous, because you pretty much can't do anything about it without the county council coming down on you for not following the advice of your consultant. Please, in the future, figure out a way to get reports and questioning them before they become public. The other thing that I just want to share with you, and I guess it's a function of being a few generations ahead of a lot of you, and even more so with the children, and it's concerning the $2 million that you're going to be asked to approve tonight for Chromebooks. I share with you an experience 3 years ago when I asked third graders at Umatilla. I was excited about seeing the computers introduced at Minneota High School, and I asked these third graders, what would you rather have, textbooks or computer, a laptop? 70% of them said textbooks. I was astounded. I asked them why. They said textbooks don't break when you drop them. They don't need to be recharged. And they went on and on and on about why a textbook was a better thing. I would presume that most of you learned from textbooks and good teachers.
Thank you.
But somehow we still need to spend $2 million augmenting that instead of looking at what it was that got us to where we are today. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Clapp.
Good evening, Superintendent, school board members. He's a tough act to follow, but as I've said before, the legislature is not going to solve our budgeting crisis. But that mantra of we're funded 62 out of 67 keeps coming around. I'm reminded of a counselor, Albert Ellis, when he had clients who were faced with dire straits. Society dealt them a very bad hand. Rather than feeling sorry for themselves, he asked them, what are you going to do about it? So I decided I wanted to look at these 6 or 7 counties that are funded less than Lake. I expected schools in dire straits. I expected rural schools in the middle of nowhere. But what I found was quite interesting. There was no definitive list, but we had one and made one up anyway from the finance office. 5 of the 7 counties that are funded less than Lake are the same size or larger than Lake. 5 of the 7 counties have a higher pay for teachers than Lake. 4 of the 7 have higher retention rates. 5 of the 7 have a larger fund balance. So I implore you, as you're looking under every rock to try to find money for teachers, maybe look at some of the other counties as to what they're doing, because they're obviously, rather than blaming the legislature for our woes, decided they wanted to do something about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
And I'll just tell you what they did about it, because we did look at that list and have some conversation about it. Those districts have at least one, if not more, millage referendums that they've passed to generate additional revenue. Because like us, we don't have an expense problem, we have a revenue problem. So that's what they've done about it.
All right, moving on. Mr. Fortson? I'm sorry if I misspelled that.
No, you got it exactly right.
Okay.
Superintendent, Lake County School Board members, my name is Bill Fortson. I'm an alumni of Mount Dora High School, and I have a son that's graduated and one that's currently attending Mount Dora High School, along with several other relatives, and an aunt that taught in the school system here for 34 years, and my mother as well for 30-something years. What I'm here about tonight is our current football field athletic complex that is not usable. Several of our games have had to be rescheduled and played at other football fields other than our own. It's not fair. This has been brought up before in 2013 to the school board. Things were investigated, but some things got done, and putting a Band-Aid over a very large cut is not acceptable this time. It needs to be looked into again. Something needs to be done for these children, for their safety, first and foremost. The field has had, ever since my uncle attended Mount Dora High School, and he's 77 now, there's been a problem with the flooding on the football field at Mount Dora High School. There are no other fields that are having the issue to the extent that we are, where their students are missing games, will miss their homecoming at their own field and other events. It's simply not acceptable. This was brought up in 2013. None of our bathrooms are ADA compliant bathrooms. This was brought up as well. We need to do something to fix this problem. I've talked to several other parents, and if you look at the sidelines on our football fields, our number of players compared to other people's number of players are more than tripled by the opposing teams. That is because students and athletes do not want to come to Mount Dora High School because they are aware of these issues. This has happened since well before 2013. I've been told that it's been condemned before, and here we are back here again. So, I mean, we want something done as parents. Our kids want something done. I know that I have seen quotes that have happened back in 2013 that are astronomical. I do understand that. But something has to be done. We can't have our children missing their homecomings, their football games. Not to mention we're sending buses out to Lake Mineola the week before last, to Tavares this week, spending gas money and buses that are going out when it doesn't need to be. You know, it's just absolutely not acceptable. There are several football players on that team who are outstanding athletes who are being looked at by several colleges, and we know as athletes and as human beings that we play well when we're in our home field, much better than we would most times at other fields, and they're not being looked at by those scouts at their home field because they cannot play there. So if you would please look into this for Mount Dora High School. Let's do something. Let's not make a repeat of 2013. Let's seal the cut. Let's heal it. Let's make it right this time, please. Thank you.
I was made aware of this last week, and I know Mr. Mathias reached out to you and had some conversation to get some additional information, and we are going to look into it and find some resolution for you. Okay. All right.
Yeah, because I think what you were referring to about the being condemned when it happened, that was the stadium itself. And because I used to work for the system, so I remember when all that happened, and that was not the first time that happened, that they had to come in and pull the seats out and put concrete and fill dirt in there at that time. So, but that was not the actual football field, that was just a stadium though. But I understand we have a problem with a spring under there.
Yes, sir. That is true. I've been told by city officials as well that if you don't know the history behind it, there was my mom's Browning house there several years ago. That's how long we've been here, my family. And there was a pond there and springs there that run into Lake Franklin, and it was all filled in over that. There are live springs that run underneath it. Anywhere on the outskirts, on the sides of the football field, the east and west sides of the football field, you'll find flowing creeks, springs. Those either have to be rerouted, cut off, or we have to relocate the field somewhere else on campus. I don't think any parent or student wants a football field that's off campus. Every other high school has this opportunity, so should Mount Dore High School. We love our little high school, and as I've told parents before, once my final child, with God's grace, once he graduates in 2021, and he is a football player, and once he graduates in 2021, I will still be here. I will still be back because I love our little high school, and it's always been one of the best, and we'd like for it to continue that way.
Thank you, sir.
And we appreciate your attention to the matter again.
Thank you for your commitment.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. All right. Mr. Attorney?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I just want to point out two things for your voting on the consent agenda tonight. One is Dr. Tibbetts mentioned that you have item number 8.09 is approval of the impact fee study. I looked this afternoon on board docs, and it still notes that it's a draft. I'm assuming that you're approving that version without any changes, but I don't know that from looking at it.
We are.
Okay. And the other item is at the beginning of the vote for consent agenda items, if anyone has any objection to voting on several documents under 8.16 at the same time, then you should note before we vote on the consent agenda. They're all contracts for law enforcement for the summer. They've all already been completed. They've already been taken care of, but just to make sure we don't want to vote on multiple contracts at the same time. That's all.
Which was the number for the computer, the Chromebooks?
Chromebooks.
8.17.
Thank you. I could talk to that, so I can pull that if you want me to. I can pull that to talk to it, at least.
Okay.
Is that 8.07?
8.1.
Oh, 8, okay.
To talk to.
This is for our high schools, though, just so you know, it's not elementary or middle.
That's the honest one.
South Lake and East Ridge.
Yeah.
It's to finish the high schools. Yes. Okay. Is that all you got?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now we have 8.05 that's pulled for no action. And Dr. Burns has asked that we pull 8.17 for discussion. The superintendent?
I recommend approval of items 8.01 to 8.04, 8.06 to 8.16, and 8.18 to 10.11.
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Thank you. Okay, Dr. Burns, 8.17, do you want Dr. Wheeler to come up, or you want the superintendent to speak to this first, or?
I mean, it doesn't matter. Maybe Dr. Wheeler, do you want to? Oh, sure. Yeah.
Dwayne only asks that you give us a short version.
I did.
That's the pot calling the kettle black.
Now, I'm guilty of the same thing, so, you know.
No, I mean, I guess the best way to address it is that this is basically to finish the two high schools. They're two of the larger high schools, to be honest with you. East Ridge is going to be definitely a decent-sized project. And the schools keep purchasing the Chromebooks at a pretty rapid rate. Today I had the purchase from other schools, about 400 come through the pipeline and such. And so we are sitting right now with this purchase. This will put us in the pipeline of around 23 to 24,000 Chromebooks across the district. And so when you look at kind of the magic number to achieve our goal that we had set out to do, it was right around 37,000. And so we're making progress even at a faster rate than first anticipated. I think the schools are hungry for it.
So this is also, we're finishing off our high schools, and our high school funding is coming out of our capital budget.
Yeah, there is a small sliver of the digital classroom plan funding that remained. It was definitely not funded to the years we had seen in the past. So that money kind of goes first because it is earmarked for that, and then after that, it is capital, correct?
Right. Okay. And then I know that there is allocations for other schools, like I assume middle schools, if they want to buy a classroom set or whatnot, and that's coming out of school budget, correct?
Correct. There are a couple of other funding sources every once in a while that are allowed. They've tightened up on things like Title I in the past. We've been able to leverage that, but that has some of the restrictions around that have. But for the most part, it is school-based funding. And last time we came to you for, I believe, the same $2 million or so, we used it fairly quickly. So again, we anticipate about 1.2 million of this being for that threshold for the purchase of the 2 remaining schools, and then the other 800,000. And then we'll kind of go from there. We're, just as a small asterisk, we're on the eve of starting to look towards the middle schools as we put our 5-year plan into motion. We were talking about doing the middle schools in year 3. And so part of that is going to be to recompile the budget based on existing stock, how many we've purchased, and then also anticipating the lifespan of those devices and moving forward. So we'll probably see a plan from us in the next little bit on how we're going to address the middle schools.
Okay. And then what are we having a large adoption in the elementaries?
The elementaries have definitely been adopting pretty heavily. In fact, some of the schools, surprisingly, are pretty close to almost a 1-to-1 footing, given the fact that in our original 5-year plan, we had said K through 2 would be basically 5 to 10 devices in the classroom, and to minimize the impact of screen time and like kids be kids and all that. However, in grades 3 through 5, kind of a 1-to-1, like 1 device per student in the classroom. And we have 3 schools right now that are probably at least 85% there already. And so, in a lot of schools that probably, my guess is anywhere from like 7 to 8, they're about half there. And so, definitely.
And do they not have textbooks in those cases?
To be honest with you, one of the things is that in the beginning, when you look at kind of sort of the textbook, that is one thing it provides. But what they're really being used is to reinforce authentic literacy. They're used as digital supports for reading, thinking, talking, and writing. And interestingly enough, they are used for reading, that part's true, but they're also used a lot of times for kids to be able to collaborate together in kind of sort of a collaborative Google Doc space, and really more almost like the digital talk, the digital thinking, that type of thing. So you do have reading in there for sure, but some of the best lessons we've seen are these hybrid lessons where there's actual text in front of them, but they're using the device as a digital support to collaborate what they're thinking on the reading is.
Okay. Thank you.
While you're there, in what Dr. Tibbetts kind of referred to as far as dropping, how many possibly percentage-wise, or if you know how many exact, out of all of these that we have, about how many has been damaged or something?
Yeah, so it's a good question. So what usually you anticipate is about 5% break rate at any given point. And one of the things that it sounds gruesome, to be honest with you, when you think about screens breaking. It has a kind of a horrible image because we've all had a broken screen probably once in our life. However, we've gotten the price of the screens down to $32, which I would make the argument there's no device hardly you can get the price that low on. And so when you think about $32, it's pretty affordable. Right now, and some schools have different break rates. It's just different from place to place. We will see anywhere from 1 to 3.5% break rate. And most of that is the kid. Well, a lot of times we'll kind of sort of, we try to defray the cost a little bit, volume pricing, the technology fee and everything like that, but the cost that remains, most of the time the parents will pay to get the device back up and running fairly fast, and so it's been pretty good. Strangely, dropping isn't the number one enemy of it. It's earbuds and pencils right before they shut it. That seems to crack almost as many of them because it just leverages it right, and so we see quite a bit, and sometimes really getting excited and poking the screen hard seems to do it for some folks too, so it's all about technique.
Thank you, Dwayne.
Right, thank you.
Thank you. Superintendent's recommendation?
I recommend approval of item 8.17, purchase of the Chromebooks.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Moving to the superintendent's report.
So it's hard to believe we are starting week 3, so don't blink because this year will be over if you do. And I just want to thank everyone. It has been a tremendously smooth start to the school year. We've had the pleasure of meeting with each of our principals individually over the past week, and we'll continue this week. And everyone we ask has just said that this has been one of the smoothest openings that they've had. And so we're just very grateful for all the preparation. And we know our summers are really busy, and certainly all of the planning and the professional learning that took place this summer has led to a great start. So I want to thank all of our folks for making that possible. And it's great to be back in session and have the kids back with us. I was thrilled for the turnout that we had this morning at the groundbreaking ceremony of the Leesburg High School Construction Academy's partnership with Habitat for Humanity. They actually broke ground on that home today in downtown Leesburg, and there was, how many would y'all say, 80, 100 people there this morning? It was a great turnout. We had a lot of city officials, and we had Senator Baxley was there, Representative Sullivan, Representative Sabatini was there, along with Dr. Burns was there, Mr. Mathias was there, and so many members of our local builders and contractors association, along with ROMAC, who was our sponsoring company for this endeavor with Habitat, were all there, and it was just a tremendous show of support for our kids. And the excitement around the event was tremendous. And so I want to thank Ms. Sellis, I think she's here, and Linnea Weisman, who oversee our college and career programs. They organized today's event along with Habitat and just did an outstanding job. So we're grateful. We're excited to see the house. It's a beautiful lot, and we're very grateful to the city of Leesburg for donating it for our students to have this hands-on learning experience. I want to let parents know that we are offering the free flu shots, and so there's forms that will be going home. I believe they're home this week. They'll be going home that they can fill out and return if they want to take advantage of that with our county health department. So we're grateful for that partnership and the opportunity to keep our kids nice and healthy. And also, the Florida Department of Education is seeking public input on our civics instructional materials and the civics end-of-course assessment test item specifications, and details on how parents and others in the community can take part in that process is on our website if you'd like to check that out. And just remind everyone that we're actually at Labor Day, and so Monday is a holiday for all of us. So that's all I have for you this evening. I have one letter of condolence, and that was to Susan Jordan. She's the principal at Leesburg Elementary. Her mother-in-law, Joyce Jordan, passed away suddenly, so our condolences to her and her family.
All right. Board member comments. Mr. Mathias?
I actually have no comments. Superintendent covered my whole.
The advantage of going first.
Mr. Dodd?
Yeah, I've got a few things, so I'll try and make up for you not having anything. First off is a couple weeks ago we had the dedication for the new cafetorium there at Cypress Ridge. You might recall a while back the recommendation from the Cypress Ridge SAC came before the board to rename this thing, or to really name it since it's brand new, in honor of Dennis Reed. So we had that dedication, and big thanks to the foundation for helping us put that together. That was an outstanding dedication. His wife and son were in attendance there, and it was very well done, and I think they admired the plaque. They thought, perhaps there'd be just a little tree there, never imagining, a whole cafetorium would be dedicated in his honor, but truly outstanding, and a legacy he's left. Second item is, I'm trying to not get there we go. Is that better? There we go. Second item is I'd like to offer once again a congratulations to all the STEM schools that were here tonight. Observation that I've had is that, a few years ago, a lot of folks used to think that a STEM lesson or a STEM challenge was maybe handing a group of kids a bunch of gumdrops and toothpicks and telling them to put together a bridge, right? And that might potentially fulfill the engineering component, but really to do STEM properly, you've got to have the other pieces in place, right? You need the science, you need the technology, the math. If you're going to call it STEAM, you need to have an art piece in there too. And when we looked at that binder that was there as an example, a good chunk of that are real high quality lesson plans that the schools have submitted demonstrating these lessons that are integrating all of those components as opposed to just, building lifesaver cars going down a ramp. What is the math involved in that? What is the science piece of that? And it might be worth noting, as we see all the increase in the number of schools earning this award, how we're doing scientifically against the rest of the state. That, I don't know that a lot of folks know this, but our elementary science is in the upper quartile, ranking 16th in the state out of 67 counties. It's our highest ranking category. So I think there's something to be said for STEM education here in Lake County. And then finally, I'd like to offer just a bit of clarification on some remarks I made a couple of weeks ago. We had a public input speaker who had given us some facts and figures comparing the cost per educating a student in a charter school versus in a traditional public school, and it showed that the costs were less in a charter. And I said, well, one reason that might be is that there are some expenses actually encumbered by the school district for students in charter schools. For instance, we have some charters in our district that the district is paying the debt on those buildings. And then there was I said also that there's some maintenance, and for whatever reason, some folks had walked away with an impression that I was saying that we're paying 100% of the maintenance. So I just wanted to clear the record there, that and also provide, I guess, kind of a bit of accolade for you, Mr. Mathias, had worked on developing some of those maintenance agreements that we had longstanding not had between the district and the charters. So if you walked away with the impression that we're paying 100% of the maintenance, that's not true. If we do have maintenance agreements in place, and while we do pay some of the maintenance costs, the charters, the conversion charters as well, pay into that too. So there you are.
Very nice. Yes, I also had the pleasure of attending the ribbon cutting for the Habitat, and it really was a wonderful event. I mean, mostly because of the amazing work that the children will be doing. I'm really excited for our kids, and that we were able to actually bring that to fruition is something that's pretty exciting as a board member. I also wanted to clarify some comments I made at our last workshop regarding our charters. I said that charter schools have the ability to cherry pick their students, meaning that they can take some students and turn away others, including those with disabilities or with significant struggles in the classroom. Those students tend to translate to increased personnel costs for smaller classes or extra educational help, children that need extra help. I heard from some of our local charter school principals who say that they absolutely don't cherry pick and that it's not fair to paint all of our schools with the same brush, and I agree. We are blessed to have some excellent charters in Lake County as well as excellent public schools, and I'm looking at some of our charter principals over there. And I will never say that, like, my son went to one of the charters and he had an excellent education there. However, what happens with charter schools is that these charter schools feel that they just don't have the resources, and they probably reasonably don't, to create classrooms or programs to accommodate these struggling students or special needs students. These students are then referred back to the public schools where we have no choice but to bear the brunt of the cost. Public schools are supposed to be for all children. Charter schools are public schools funded with public dollars. If all means all, I think that our charters need to make sure that they are equipped with the resources and programs to meet the needs of all of our students who want to be part of their school. The traditional public school systems do this, and it's my personal opinion that charter schools should do the same. This is a systemic problem. There is a major conflict of interest with many of our state legislators. Our previous chair of the House and current education commissioner is one of the people who absolutely has a financial interest in the charter industry, and that is why the cherry picking is allowed. His wife owns a charter, and it's in his own financial interest to make sure that the laws stay in the favor of the charters financially. Finally, I do think it's important to add that these charters that the charters that are privately run, in my opinion, shouldn't be receiving public funding to build facilities unless the public owns those facilities and can recoup the facilities if the charter school closes. That's another method by which charters can become just a financial money-making enterprise, and make no doubt about it that a lot of people are making a lot of money on charters. That said, we do have good charters in Lake County, and we have principals who are working hard at providing a great education in those charters, just like we're trying really hard to provide a great education in the public schools. So thank you. That's all I have.
All right. Well, I'd just like to say that I've made some visits to some of the schools in my district as well as outside. And one of the things that I had the opportunity to do last Friday as I was coming back was stop at Lake Success Academy and take a little tour there. And, I mean, it's overwhelming, what they've done there and what's available, and what the principal that is doing there with the students. And I stood there, and they said, we're fixing to change classes or whatever. I don't ring a bell. That way we don't disturb the community. We go to the classroom and we dismiss them from there, and someone is watching. So I think a lot of what Howie was concerned about, we have went way over to make sure that that is not happening. And I thank our staff out there, and I thank our staff here as well that has made this happen, because I think that will put them to a lot of ease there. The only thing is, I will say that the principal out there is a little concerned because she says she heard that alligators climb fence. And she's not used to that. I said, well, it was in the newspaper, so it does happen. I will say that also in some of the principals I've talked to, they said they've had an increase in their enrollment compared to last year, and that says a lot for Lake County. And I will say this too, we were told, if I'm not mistaken, at the workshop, that Beverly Shores had increased in their attendance, in their enrollment. Am I right? They were down some? I thought they had increased some. But you know, the thing is, what I like about this is that the community is buying into that school and trying to do what they can to make that school come back up. And something that I was at today, and I apologize, I was supposed to have been at the groundbreaking. Instead, I was at a school that I wasn't supposed to be there till Wednesday. And so I'm going back there Wednesday. But what's happening there is some churches in that community there at Fruitland Park Elementary are coming together. And I talked with the pastor Friday night, so I don't know how I got the date messed up. But and he was saying their goal was to try to raise $14,000 to go to that school, which would be above what they raised last year. Another church in that community, they give each teacher a check to go and buy classroom supplies. And to me, that's a community buying into our public school program, into our staff that's there as well, believing in them that they would go out and buy what they need for their school. But I'm thankful for that. So what I'm going to do, I understand that we're allowed to go and work at this Habitat of Humanity that our school's going to do. So to try to get my penance for not being there today, I will try to go out and donate some time to help build over there, and ask for forgiveness of not being there this morning. But this is something that's great. And with what it's going to start in Eustis, I think it's just something that's going to go out in our CTE programs throughout Lake County, which is something that I looked at whenever I was running 3 years ago. This is something that we've needed, and it's coming to fruition, and it's happening. So our kids, whenever they graduate, if they're not college bound, they will have the opportunity to have had the education and training to go out and get a job in the real world. And I thank our superintendent and her staff for all that they've done to make this happen. And for that being said, that's all I've got tonight. Thank you and good night. We're dismissed. We're adjourned. Whatever you want to call it.